So in the previous video, we talked about the fact that you need a privacy policy on your site and where it should be placed in order to be compliant with COPPA. Let's talk about how the privacy policy should be written and what the FTC would ideally want you to include in that policy. So, of course, your policy should be clear and easy to read, and the FTC would want you to, number one, have a list of all operators collecting personal information. So in their ideal scenario, you would name each operator collecting or maintaining children's personal information through your site or service. For each operator, you include a name and contact information. And if more than one operator is collecting information, it's okay to give that contact information for only one, as long as the operator will respond to all inquiries from parents about your site and services practices. So even so, you still have to list all the operators in your policy. As we'll talk about at the end, but I want to prepare you for this now, the FTC is really sort of going out on a limb and giving people a lot of requirements. And COPPA gives you a lot of requirements to comply with. We'll talk about this more at the end, but it's worth saying that not all sites, even the largest sites, and even the sites that are most likely to be enforced against, follow all of these rules. Does that make it okay that you don't follow all these rules? No, because that makes you a target for non-compliance. But at the end, we're going to sort of break down this idealized list of things that these privacy policies will include in this idealized set of best practices that the FTC gives you and that the law requires, and then we'll look at what people are actually doing on the ground when they have sites and apps that need to comply with COPPA. Alright, moving on. The FTC would like a description of the personal information collected and how it's used. So your policy must describe the types of personal information collected from children, for example, name, address, email address, hobbies, etc., whatever you're collecting, how the personal information is collected. So is it directly from the child or passively through cookies? You should describe how the personal information would be used. So we're talking about if it's going to be used for marketing to the child, notifying a contest winner, allowing the child to make information available in chat room, instant messaging, etc. And whether you disclose personal information collected from kids to third parties. And so if you do, your privacy policy must list the types of businesses you disclose that information to, for example, ad networks, and how they use this information. And so, again, this is not necessarily completely going above and beyond what a typical privacy policy would have in it, even without COPPA. But with COPPA, you have many more specifics that you need to include in your policy, and you need to be sure that you know exactly what you're doing in terms of how your app or software actually works, because that's the only way that you can include all of this information accurately. And so accuracy at the end of the day is what is necessary for privacy policies more than anything else. As long as you're being truthful and accurate and you're not being deceptive to consumers, then you're doing pretty well for yourself when we're talking about privacy policies. All right, continuing. The FTC wants a description of parental rights. And so your privacy policy has to elaborate that you won't require a child to disclose more information than is reasonably necessary to participate in whatever activity they're participating in. You have to tell parents that they can review their child's personal information, direct you to delete it, and refuse to allow any further collection or use of the child's information. Parents must be told that they can agree to the collection and use of their information, but still not allow disclosure to third parties unless that's part of the service and the service can't be used without it. And finally, parents must be told the procedures to follow to exercise the rights that they have. And so you not only have to say that all of these things are true in the privacy policy. At the end of the day, your privacy policy should be just a record and a disclosure of your actual policies for private data. Therefore, not only do you have to say these things, they also have to be true. And you need to change the way that you work with people's data in order to make sure that this is true. All right, we'll be moving on to step 3. And at the end of all of these steps, we'll actually look at what people are really doing in the real world and break down what is necessary to comply with, what might be something that's a gray area to comply with and maybe too difficult for certain types of sites and apps to comply with. And finally, probably looking at the most that you could get away with before the FTC would take an enforcement action against you or there would be some other issue. All right, thank you, and let's see you in the next step.